As an SMB Connect, we are keen to publish stories of people who have been successful and publish stories who have actually grown from a very, very small investment. And we've been doing this as part of this event series in different locations. In like a couple of weeks back, we were in Jaipur, and we had invited Jaipur Rugs, the CEO, to talk about how they have moved their organization, which is absolutely rugs to riches story. A person coming out from Gujarat started a cooperative movement of manufacturing carpets, and today it is a 1,000 crore organization selling across the US, Canada, and different European market. Shows how basically we wanted to share his experience so that it can be an inspiration for a lot of other people like us. Similarly, we had in Coimbatore Mr. Muruganathan, who has taken the key basically innovated the concept of manufacturing sanitary pads. It's a very, very taboo topic, but he has taken that innovation to manufacturing sanitary pads at a very, very minimal cost, and started making production units and selling these production units to people across regions which is the large MNCs are not able to reach. So he has able to put up factories in places like Rishikesh in Northeast. So idea was to share how he is able to move, and he has been acknowledged and awarded throughout the world. So there are a couple of success stories, and we are keen on building on that, and maybe some of the success stories will come from people who are sitting in front of me, and we would like to publish that in our website through and showcase that through our events. Apart from that, we are keen to organize a lot of events, conferences, where we can network, where we can share knowledge. We want to do some kind of seminars. We are quite active on our social, so that can be a platform for exchanging knowledge and ideas, which we will like people to be participating on a regular basis. We are building a network of service provider, registered and verified service provider, so that you can get benefit out of their experience too, because this is something which I have seen little, because people usually trust people who they know, who have been referred to. So we will like to do a verification and provide the service providers to any business owners across India who want to move to take their services. So that's something which we are looking at in SMB Connect. So what we are looking at, the takeaway for us as SMB Connect is, we would like you to, if you think the kind of knowledge we are sharing here, and you would like to continue this kind of, get this kind of knowledge which is helpful for you, we would like you to join this community, be a member of it, and help us disseminate this kind of information. So these are a couple of ways where you can connect with us. We have an email ID. We are quite active in social media. We have Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or our website. So all I request you to, if you like this program, please join us and continue this growth. So with this, I would like to now invite Mohit to take the stage and start our first session. Mohit.
Thank you, Sandeepan. Thank you very much. So we'll get right to business. A warm welcome from our side, and I know Delhi is getting warm, so it's going to get warmer by the day, so the welcome has to be warm. Our first panel discussion is really on the importance of branding and marketing for the small and medium businesses. It's important for everybody, but even more so for the small and medium-sized businesses. And I have two panelists with me who are going to join stage. So may I request Mr. Subhranshu Niyogi to please take stage. He currently leads the marketing and branding for the entire Religare group. He has over 2 decades of work experience and has been a specialist in branding and marketing. Joining him will be Mr. Sandeep Nagpal. Mr. Sandeep Nagpal is currently Director for Marketing of SMB and Channels with SAP India. He's had stints where he's managed the SMB business for Nokia and Microsoft, and we can regard him as an expert in the whole SMB branding and marketing space, because he has over 2 decades of experience only in this domain. And my name is Mohit. I run a communication consulting organization, and I will be moderating the panel on your behalf. So during the course of the event, there will be questions that I would expect all of you to throw. So we'll do a 10-minute of structured discussion, followed by which I will open the floor for your questions. Please raise your hands, introduce yourself, and address your questions to the panelists. So
thanks,
begin?
Thanks, Mohit.
So my first question for you, Mr. Nagpal, is that for the SMB, there's always a trade-off between present business and focusing on the future. And branding and marketing is really a fruit that you reap in the long term. So how do you strike that balance, and how important is it to structure and invest time in your current schedule for developing a brand for the SMB space?
So thanks, Mohit, for the welcome, and a very valid question. I think most of the SMBs actually grapple with this question, that whether what kind of branding is important, who should they brand for, what should they brand. I think the most important question that anybody has to answer for themselves is that do they really need to brand? Okay, so first question is that, is brand important? Okay, and the second thing is that in the overall branding space, if you think that you are targeting your product or services to a particular segment, you don't need, so there are a lot of leakages that happen on branding, and you want to have splash over the digital medium, on other marketing mediums, and want to, the first thing that comes to your mind by branding is that, can I get on an airport brand? Is my brand visible to people? But do you really need to do that? Your branding is relevant to your target audience, right? So it could be a very niche audience, and if they know you and they recognize your brand, that's good enough, right? So, and at the same time, when you're looking at expansion, growth in the longer term space, what is important for you is to recognize the fact that the branding doesn't give you a return today. It's an investment portfolio. So you really, and brand is intrinsic of not only the name or the logo, it also has a lot of values in it. Your serviceability, your ability to service your customers, your product quality, your service quality, your after sales service, all of that becomes the part of your brand. So you don't need to build a brand. Brand is an outcome of a lot of stuff that you do. So in order to create a brand, first and foremost is a very close look on what you deliver as a value to your customer. And then look at it from a longer term perspective, that what is it that you want to invest in, and then comes the part of marketing part of branding. I think, so to open this to, I think, Shubhra also, I think would agree that marketing part of branding is an easier part than actually having the intrinsic value in the brand.
Your comments, Mr.
No, so I think couldn't agree more. So I think fact of the matter is, a lot of people tend to think brand development as a TVC, television commercial, splashing the logo and the brand all over. It's much more than that.
Right.
I think what Sandeep said, and I couldn't agree more, is that it's basically a way of life. Right? It's a journey. I mean, today, if let's say somebody were to kind of create a brand or develop a brand, people tend to get into this trap that, hey, you know what, I need to kind of spend marketing dollars,
right,
and within 2 months, I'll be a known brand. Fact of the matter is, that may be one of the things that you might want to do, depending on, as he said, what your target audience is and what your strategic priorities are. But fact of the matter is that it's a journey. It's something which cannot be built overnight, and it's also something which is not just about the logo, the trademark, or advertising. It's much more than that.
Right.
It's a way of life. So in terms of the way you actually go and present yourself to your target audience,
right,
the way you kind of potentially build a team of people, and the way you nurture them, and the way they actually go to market is also part of the brand journey.
right.
And the other thing which I think is important is that I think we need to recognize the fact that a brand is basically a tool for strategic differentiation and also catalyst for business. It's a culture that you imbibe. So today people might think that I'm especially SMEs. I mean, we've got all wise people sitting here who run big businesses and small big businesses. But fact of the matter is that most people think that why do I need a brand? But our view, I think, is that you need a brand because it's a tool for strategic differentiation. It's a tool that enables you to attract talent, retain talent. If you were to kind of go to an IT solutions provider and present yourself for IT-sizing your business, It helps. If you were to come to an SME finance company like us and, look at funding opportunities or look at, fuel to grow your business, brand is important. So I think it's all pervasive. It's all pervasive. It's a way of life. It's a journey, and it's a strategic tool for differentiation.
So the couple of things that I hear is that you must very clearly identify who are you branding for. Right. It's the investment that you make in the quality of your product. So really the investment in the quality is a rub-off that will lead to the differentiation of your brand, and also how you service your customers.
Right.
So what are the other things that an SMB who's at a juncture where that T curve or that J hockey curve is about to come, and he's going to embark on a journey of growth, hasn't yet focused on all of this? So what can he start doing now so that that investment starts to reap in the branding benefit that
I think it has to start from day one. It's a cultural thing. If I'm an entrepreneur, I'm building a business and I'm developing a business, it has to be here. That look, I need to create a brand. And it actually, more often than not, people who run their own businesses, the individuals are brands themselves. Right? It's not about creating a star culture that, I'm the one man who's running the business. But fact of the matter is, if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm running my business, I'm the brand for my business. How do I build that, I brand? How do I brand myself is also another factor that people need to look at, which would mean, positioning yourself in a certain light. If today I have a peer set of 10 people in the industry, how do people perceive me? How do all stakeholders perceive me as the arrowhead of my business is also very important. So I think in our view, and I'm sure Sandeep would agree, that brand as a culture, brand as a thought process has to start from day one. It's not something which will start at, one fine day when an entrepreneur believes that, hey, today, what, I've achieved critical mass, I'm getting good numbers, now is the time to start building the brand. The marketing part of that may start later, but brand as a journey, brand as a thinking process starts much earlier. I dare say from day one.
Yeah, I think I again couldn't agree more with Shubhra. I think the more important thing, which more than, on one side it is you as a brand. At the same time, the journey, as Shubhra said, that the journey starts much earlier, and your employees are your brand ambassadors. Right. So they are the first marketing exercise that you need to do, so that you are in a position to get the culture of your company or your vision of your product and your services and offering. They need to carry that with pride.
Right.
The first thing, you want your customer to associate with you and look at you from a aspirational brand, from a brand that they can relate to, a warm brand. So you can always have those things that you value for yourself. When you started off that company, you must be having some kind of a thought process about that company. On one side there was a business angle to that, but the other side was a passion angle to that. Right? That passion was to make. What did you decide to make? Did you want to make, for example, SAP talks about we make, various businesses run better, right? So we have a different philosophy, and we're working on that philosophy. Similarly, when I used to work for Nokia, it was about connecting people, right? So there was a passion, which was behind when the company's brand was started or when the company was started. So you need to start looking at it. What do you stand for as an individual and as an organization? And then imbibe that spirit into your employees, because they are the first branding exercise that you do. And if they carry your brand with pride, I think your first set of exercise of marketing is done.
Just to add to that, see, just for the audience, see, we come from a financial services organization, right? More often than not, people tend to forget that a key stakeholder in a service organization, and that holds true for all types of organizations, is actually the internal audience, right? Because they are the last mile who connect you or the organization or the brand to the external world, to all your stakeholders. So it's very important to start developing a culture of internal marketing. See, because people usually, when they talk about marketing, brand building, they usually in the context of external stakeholders, consumers, right? Internal marketing, empowerment, knowledge enhancement, preparing the platform to represent themselves better is something people probably don't give it enough thought. But our experience in financial services has been that our agents, our partners, our employees are really the last mile connect. So a lot of marketing that we do, at Religare is also internal facing. So I think if people can develop that culture, that look, my marketing first has to start internal and then go external, which is a function of resources, time, effort, money, and so on and so forth. I think a lot of what you want to achieve is already achieved.
So, SMB, there is largely service driven.
Sure.
There is always that balance that needs to be struck between the star, who is the founder of the organization, and the other team that he is nurturing. Because many times in the service business, the SMB runs the risk that the client doesn't want the organization, they want the entrepreneur himself. Correct. They want the founder.
Correct.
So how does that balance, or how does that get over that
I think,
challenge?
Very valid point. See, I think fact of the matter is the founder or the key man will always be the principal brand, or let's say the star for the brand, or the star brand, or the endorser of the brand, right? If let's say there is a celebrity equivalent, the founder is probably that.
Right.
And a lot of positive rub-off, which is there from the individual brand, translates into the organizational brand, right? Which is why I said, a while back, that it is very important to start thinking about brand from yourself. If I'm representing my company, my organization in the marketplace, how do I ensure that I stand for a particular value system? How do I ensure that I stand as a thought leader in the space that I operate in?
Right.
How do I ensure that I represent cutting edge thought, cutting edge differentiation? Because once that happens, people start identifying you with your organization brand,
right,
and the positive rub-off, that it creates to the organization and to the other people,
right,
is phenomenal. And as he said, it actually is, it's infectious, right? And it creates this passion that look. So I mean, if you look at most Indian firms, family managed businesses, right? When they started small.
Right.
Today, if you look at even the large corporates today, the iconic brands like Tata, Birla, or even an international brand like a Branson, right? Fact of the matter is, when they started, it was actually the individual or the founder whose brand has a positive rub-off on the organization and its evolution therein.
Yeah, I think another fact that I can't emphasize more is that we always have budgets for marketing, right?
Yeah.
We think about having, okay, how much budget should we keep for marketing? My first, I'm a firm believer that that our investment are into our employees. Okay, if we can, if you are the star performer, if 80% of your qualities or 70% of your qualities that you represent to your customer can be imbibed by your next line, right? And when you can't be replicated at 10 places, right? So everybody wants you, right? If you are able to get the trainings right done, the spirit that I talked about your brand and about your organization, the representation of your organization in a consistent way. What you would say to a client is what your next in line will say to the client, and the discount that you will give to a client will be the same discount that your next level will be able to give it to a discount, at least the next level. The second level of your organization. If you are able to create a consistency in your service and the delivery when you are interacting with your client, what happens is that your scalability grows, your brand value grows, because they know you that this organization is empowered and we can deal with these 5 people. Instead of investing and keeping a money separately for billboards, if you invest that money and effort into your next line, your brand enhancement in a shorter run, I'm not talking about the long run hockey stick kind of environment, but in a shorter run, I think that would provide you a much bigger brand value than actually doing a marketing activity.
It's a very interesting point you make here, that a lot of us look at branding as being an outcome of advertising.
Right.
And you're saying that the monies that ideally we think should go into advertising should be invested in employees. So while we understand what to do in terms of, invest in your employees, create a culture, my next question is really, how should an SME go about doing it? What are the 5 things or the 3 things you would expect the founder to start from day one, so that culture and that DNA of a consistent brand is embedded?
Sorry, should I just say? So I think so don't misconstrue what we're trying to say and overemphasize on employees per se. I think we are by no means undermining the importance of marketing and your customer relationship.
Right.
They are equally important, and you need to do that. But I think when we talk about SMEs in a journey, when they start thinking about brand, I think there are certain intrinsic things about their employees and the culture that is, if emphasized earlier in the game, will reap longer term benefits. That's exactly what we would try and
Absolutely.
make. Right?
It's no, I think if you were to kind of sum it up, I'll attempt to sum it up. It's about credibility, authenticity, and consistency.
Right.
And if you kind of build that culture across the board, I think you're on the way to developing a good brand which will hold you in good stead in the years and the times to come.
So what can a small and medium enterprise do to build that culture?
See, I think first of all, very important. I mean, to go back to your question, which you said that what are the specific marketing actions one needs to take. So
Marketing or
any form of brand building. I think first and foremost, a lot of people tend to underestimate the power of your business card, underestimate the power of your website. People think a card hai, so what? It's just a logo. I think the starting point is have an interesting card which enables you to start a conversation. The way you present your card, what is written on the card, a lot of people actually use that very smartly.
Yeah.
Now, I can't really take an example right now, but something interesting at the back of the card, it becomes a conversation starter. Right? Pay attention to the small things. These are small yet very decisive steps to start building your own identity,
Right.
own unique niche in the market. Second is pay attention to the website, your web presence. Today, the first thing that people do as a culture is that they ping you on Google.
Yep.
Are you represented well enough as your own profile or your organization's profile? Social media, LinkedIn, update your LinkedIn profile. Because a lot of people I have seen, smart people doing great stuff, but when I try and find them, let's say they are not there.
Right.
And even if they are there, they are not probably represented in the right manner. Right? Pay attention to that. So today, if you look at consumer decision journeys across the board, it's become very non-linear. Earlier what used to happen, typical people used to follow a linear IDA model.
Yeah.
You create awareness, there is interest, there is desire, there is action. Right? You create an ad or you create some sort of a hype and hoopla and blitzkrieg, people go there is attention created for you, and it translates into sales and business. But now it's non-linear. People, if let's say I were to research about Sandeep or Mohit, I will go and talk to 10 people. I will go on social media.
Right.
I will look at their LinkedIn profiles.
Right.
I will talk to their peer group. Then I will go and talk to them. Once I've spoken to them, I'll again come back and research it. I'll revalidate it. I think typically when SMEs are also kind of engaging, and any company, any brand, when they're engaging with their prospects, clients, customers, stakeholders, this is how the decision making happens. This is how the perception building happens. So pay attention to smaller details like business cards, social presence, website, and so on and so forth. And internal, build that culture, have your own set of distinctive values. How do you create a set of values which is consistent and ensure that that delivery happens time after time, day after day in a consistent machine-like manner?
Right.
Easier said than done, but I think that is how you start building a great journey and a great brand.
Yeah, I can just add, a couple of things to what Shubhra said. I completely agree with what Shubhra is saying. I think important is website by far. It should be technology, a little bit, interactive in terms of, it should not be a plain page. It should be nicely done. Which also represents your organization. Okay, it should be a reflection of your organization, how you visualize. So you can actually give it to a visual merchandiser or somebody, and he can kind of create a very nicely looking website, and in the back end, your organization is not capable of giving that delivery or whatever the external guy perceives you to be. It shouldn't be that. It should be completely gelling into your thinking. That's one. It should be interactive so that people can actually talk to you on your website, right? So they should be able to send you a query, get a response, and there is a very important chat, for example, You know, if you are in that kind of an environment, people want instant gratification.
Right.
Okay, so if they're looking for you and they like you, they want to talk to you, right? So if they want to talk to you, you need to give them an instant gratification and respond back in a very responsive manner. That's one. The other part is also about case studies. Okay, so you should never undermine how much of endorsement, any number of endorsement of your work is less, right? And you should use it more interchangeably, right? So you should always ask for endorsement from the clients, or if you are a larger supplier to a smaller organizations, you know, make them heroes. You know, for what you do for them, make them heroes so that they are the people who you have helped to succeed. At the same time, they should be able to endorse you and say, this is what you did for them. Because any story, you know, people actually we all tell stories, right, in our normal lives, right? So it's all about story. They should be able to tell your story, whether it is your employees or your customers. If they can tell your story, you built your brand. You know, you talk about, you know, I have worked for larger corporations. I would say, you know, anybody you talk to, anybody can talk about Microsoft. You know, right. Anybody can talk about Nokia. So I think on those terms. You are no less than those brands, right? So the customers who are interacting with you should be able to tell your story. What do you stand for? You know, so I think that's a very important element. Any type of stories and social media. Okay, one more element of social media is that a lot of people I have come across in SMB segment which say, Twitter handle, why do I need it?
Right.
You know, Facebook, why do I need it? You know, it's a waste of time. You know, it takes a lot of effort. Do I need to put somebody on the job? Keep one thing in mind. If you're not there, you may not have, on one side you might lose on some opportunities, which is okay. But at the same time, don't forget that your competitor is there. Right? And if he's there, he can not only create his own brand, but also has a capability of damaging your brand. Okay, so you need to have a listening post that what are people talking about my brand. You know, there might be a customer talking bad about you, and you have not done anything about it on social media, and it replicates and it amplifies. Do you need something to pad it up and reduce that amplification in some way? That's important. So you don't need to necessarily be on a social media to build a brand, but safeguard your brand as well. Okay.
See, I think good point, because you know, today if you look at what is happening around us, coming back to my previous point of consumer decision journeys or customer journeys becoming non-linear, it's all about conversations.
It's all about conversations.
How do you create spark of conversations about yourself, about your organization is very critical, which is what is content all about, right? So you have to create authentic content, because that leads to credibility, that leads to thought leadership. You know, if today I am representing a business, let's say in auto parts, can I create a piece of content which stands out as a genuine piece of content scripted by me,
right,
authored by me, and then use that to engage my prospects, use that to engage all my stakeholders.
Right.
So I think content creation is very important. So broadly, if you were to look at this whole you know, without dropping too much jargon, you have three kinds of platforms: earned media, paid media, and owned media. Owned media is basically your own media vehicles, your own website, your own platforms. Paid media is when you pay and get on any media vehicle, right? Which may not necessarily be the smartest thing to do, right, given you know, time, effort, resource constraints. Third is earned media. What kind of free media are you able to earn through PR, through conversation, through content, through social media? I think that is very important. So in my view, if you want to start by focusing on smaller, you know, pay attention to the minute details and start with earned media and owned media. Focus on those things, and as you gain traction and critical mass, and if you were to kind of look at any strategic priorities at some point in time, then probably jump on the bandwagon of paid media.
So if I were to sum it up, what you're really saying is reputations precede yourself.
Yes.
Build that reputation online.
Right.
And use the free tools that are available, but extremely influential.
Yes.
If not for building your brand, creating a listening post, and striking a conversation. So I guess it's time for us also to strike a conversation. I'm going to open the floor for questions. So can I request members of the audience to ask our panelists here any questions that you may have? Please raise your hand, address it to the panelist, and please shoot the question. Sir.
Hi, good morning. This is Manish Gupta. Am I audible? Yeah. I just, first of all, thank you for the valuable suggestions in your talk. I just want to have a generic thing, like as an SME, we are always short of funds. So, in general, can you suggest any thumb rule, like not for the branding, for the marketing, how much percentage of our finance we should invest in marketing? Maybe not at the beginning, at the start, any XYZ range or something, so that at least we are prepared that this much of our turnover or our return, we need to regularly invest on this thing.
Can I answer that? Go ahead. See, I think there is no rule of thumb. No money is good enough. Today, if I am given 100 crores by my management and board to build the brand, I will crib. I'll say, no, 100 crores is not enough. Maybe 150 crores is better. I get 150 crores, I say, no, next year I need to spend 200 crores. Competition is spending 300 crores. So I think it's not about the amount. It's about building something distinctive. And to answer your question directly, that yes, there are free tools available, as Mohit said, today to build your brand and create your own distinctive identity. As I said, focus on earned media and owned media. Start with your website. Start with, a little bit of investments on Google. Start with investments in social media. When I say investment, not in cash and dollar terms, but in terms of effort, in terms of building real estate. Start in terms of scripting your own content, because nobody understands your business and your domain better than anybody else. Can you put that little extra effort to script something which is proprietary content? Can you use that proprietary content thereafter to create credibility and authenticity for yourself in the marketplace? Can you use that content to empower and energize your own people? Today, if I have 10 people, one thing is to say that, hey, go out there and start fishing. The other is, this is the content that I have developed. This is our view about, let's say, the auto parts sector. I'm just giving an example. I don't know, sir, which sector you represent, right? But can you use that content which you've invested in, which is largely free? You don't really need to spend on that. You might, at the best, you might need a blog writer or, a freelancer to kind of polish it and do some wordsmithing. Use that to empower your people. These are fantastic marketing tools. These are fantastic brand building tools. But, again, it is unfair to expect. And I know if you're running your own business, there is a certain amount of, because we work like an entrepreneurial organization. One of my ex-colleagues is sitting here. And, fact is, people tend to expect returns immediately. You will not get returns immediately. It's a journey. You will start small, scale it up. And eventually after 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, you will see that the brand is there. People are talking about it, right? So you need to have that patience, you need to have that foresight, and more importantly, you need to have that inclination and culture that yes, I want to build a brand which is distinctive and unique. I hope that answers your question.
Just one more thing.
Sure.
Just talk about the starting of building a brand. Let's say the brand is there. It's
Right.
there for the last 2 years.
Sure.
What should be the roadmap to go ahead? Like, you don't have to build a brand. Brand is there.
Right.
Well acknowledged, even like by your clients and other people. But now you want to have a bigger pie of the cake. You want to expand into different geographies and other things.
Yeah.
So what should be in that scenario ideal?
It totally depends, sir. It totally depends on who's your target market and what you need to do. It could be a mix of events. It could be a mix of PR in certain. So let's say today you're in Delhi, you want to expand to Gujarat. Depending on what your target audience is and who your target audience is, you would actually look at localized mechanisms of building your brand. So if you specifically were asking me, what are these localized tools? They could be anything. They could be radio, they could be local vernacular press, they could be localized events. I think digital is not granular enough to focus on micro geographies, but there could be a number of things that you could look at the local level, right?
Yeah, I think more importantly, you should probably look at it from a perspective of how, as you rightly said, digital today is not as pervasive. It's becoming very, very fast. You know, and I think with third screen available now, with mobile available now, I think it is going to be not far when you can reach to anybody localized at an IP level to be able to do that, right? So I think digital, don't undermine that. But I think again, in my experience, instead of doing your own events, my suggestion would be participate in the third party industry forums or consumer forums or something where you have a broader audience to begin with, and not try and create your own property, because that takes a lot of effort and money. That's just one tip.
Just one more thing, I'm sorry, is, people, the whole culture is, videos are very important.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much attention we pay to creating relevant videos. Today, people are not reading. People are actually viewing.
Watching.
Can I, for instance, create an interesting video as a case study of 2 to 3 minutes and use that to drive conversations about my business and my core competencies? So these are some of the things which are, easy wins. These are quick hits which will enable you to start gaining traction quickly and relatively at a lower cost.
Yeah.
Sir, you had a question.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, you're audible. That's right.
Hi, I'm Amit from 72 Interactive. We are a digital marketing agency based out of Noida. I have a question for the panel. You talked about customer testimonial and feedback and all to help you build the brand. We basically deal into B2B segment, wherein most of our services are specified for business to business. If you do a good job getting feedback from your customer or getting a testimonial is really difficult, getting back to him, sending him an email that can you send us a testimonial, wherein if you do a bad job, so customer going to social media or other forum and sending feedback that this company did a pathetic work or probably the services were pathetic. So it goes with everywhere, whether you are a big brand or small brand. But with a smaller brand, it matters more because you're relying on few customers that you're dealing and you're building your brand for. One is that. So how do you tackle into those situations? So if you do a good job, how do you ensure that you encourage customer to give feedback about you? Second is, you talked about empowering your employees. Being a startup, the challenge is retaining your employees. Because the kind of market that is currently prevailing, employees have the perception that yes, this is a startup, we are about 5-6 people company, and the company is on us. So if in case I'm doing good, or probably I'm heading the product development out here, and after completing a year, I should say that, okay, give me 100% hike, or I'll leave your company. So that's a trend which is prevailing. I'm sure startups like me would have the similar problem and issues. So how do you tackle these issues at a startup level?
So, should I take it?
Please.
Okay, so a couple of things. I think it's very, two very, very important and close to the heart questions of SMBs. I think to answer your first question about bad job getting propagated much faster than the good job, and that's been there forever, right? First of all, I think my suggestion would be acknowledge that it was a bad job and do a damage control. Okay, so there is nothing wrong in saying sorry. We acknowledge and we will make do for it. Okay, and I think once you do that, by and large, people are looking for. They go to social media because they don't get remedy. Okay, if you are able to give them a remedy and sort their problem out, I have experiences where people have come back and said, "Thank you very much. You were responsive and you sorted our problem." Now that can be a case study. Nobody is perfect, right? You will have situations where things will go wrong. The guy who was supposed to do some job on a particular critical timeline fell ill. You couldn't deliver it, and it goes onto social media. But can you make do of it? Yes, you can. So acknowledge if it is possible. Acknowledge, make do of it, and go back to them on a social media and say, hope you are satisfied and convert them into a this thing. So I think that creates a positive, disposition towards your brand. So I would suggest take that route in those situations. Sir.
No.
These days we are talking a lot about e-commerce. E-commerce.
Right.
Which is business is growing, at the rate of 40-50%. E-commerce. For SME, is it not better to become a part of a e-commerce house? Flipkart and number of companies are there, and they are promoting your brands, and you focus on your product quality, price, etc., etc. Thank you.
Well, okay, I'll answer that. Let me complete the answer for the gentleman. So I think to answer your second question, it was about retention of employees. I think it goes back to our previous, where we opened up our discussion by saying, that's a norm of the game, right? People will come, people will learn, and people will go. And that's not a problem it's more grave for small and medium enterprises, but it also exists for the larger corporations, right? So you learn, all developers today learn at the expense of one company and go to the another company. That's norm of the game. Now, what are they talking about you when they leave you? That's important. Are they saying that this was a great learning ground? It was a great culture, but it's a startup. I needed to grow. I have grown, but I still respect this company. That will help you get your good resources to your organization faster than, you should not feel bad about people leaving. You should actually have a good feeling with those people who can come back and say, I am going, but I'm going to get you another guy who is good. So you cannot go against the tide, but you need to just manage that tide in a way that you are in a position to do that. Answers your question? Let me just answer that, okay, in case it is related to this.
If you're doing a good job, how do you ensure that customer gives you a good feedback and they give you a testimonial? What kind of activities you should do to encourage them to give you a feedback?
Should I want to take it?
No, so I think it's very simple. If I'm doing a good job and I'm and my client is happy, I'll be very honest. I'll go and tell the client that, listen, you're happy with what I'm doing. I want to go and talk about this to 10 other people. Can you please help me with it? As simple as that. If you today on LinkedIn, there are people who write into you who are, your first degree connection and know you well, who worked with you, seeking a recommendation. It's as simple as that. In the real world, you go and seek a recommendation. If somebody says that, no, I don't want to recommend you, well, there's not much that you can do there. Right? But if you genuinely done a good job and genuinely left your footprints there, I don't see any reason why people shouldn't recommend you. Right?
And don't shy away from asking.
Absolutely.
I mean,
just don't shy away from asking. I think that's the whole idea.
Most of the time what we see is, oh, should I go and ask? There is a hesitation. Come over that hesitation.
See, the other thing is, India is a culture, wiser men sitting here with a lot of more grey hair than probably I have. But fact is, as a culture in India, seeking help is not really seen in the right light. You go to the US, you go to developed economies.
Yep.
If I'm from McKinsey, I don't mind going to, let's say, a small enterprise and say that, I want to understand about this sector. I need your help. Culturally, as a nation, as a country, we don't want to seek help. If I seek help from you, you know what, I'm a big guy and I'm running a big business. Go and ask. Go and ask.
Okay, so I think I'll go back to about the e-commerce thing. So I think it's a choice that you make as a business. Okay, this model or that model, we have seen that hockey stick growth in the e-commerce segment from a B2C perspective, right? I am seeing a lot of work now happening in a B2B segment on an e-commerce model, right? So there will be model changes. There will be things that will bring growth to a particular sector. The question is, the question goes back to our original question, do you want to create a brand? If you are happy with the growth and the bottom line, right, and you are looking at the top line of your company and you're saying, can I grow my volumes and that will help me grow my bottom line? and I don't care about being known separately and I'm just a servicing organization and my product goes, nothing wrong in it. You know, nothing wrong in it because you want to achieve at least a critical mass where you are able to sustain it and then you find diversification of your business model so that you can actually also create a niche model tomorrow. Very much possible. So the question that you have to answer is, do you really need your own brand? Or you can be a, you know, a white labeled stuff where you can actually be still a sustainable business, but at the same time, you don't need to spend an OPEX on the marketing costs and all this stuff. But don't forget that you still need the delivery part of it. You still need people working for you and providing the right kind of a service, because e-commerce is much more harsher on you than your own interaction with the customers, because the noise of your service failure is much more amplified on an e-commerce platform than anywhere else. So you need to probably invest somewhere else, if not on marketing.
So we have time for one last question, the gentleman there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to add to the question which was asked by I don't know what his name is. My name is Jitendra and I'm from Cherry Infotech. I would like to answer, yes, sir, your answer. I would like to add to your comments that to get the good comments from your client, we should be there and always communicating with them. They should, summing it up, we should have good relations with our client to get that feedback from them, to get that testimonial from them. We should not know only the client. We should know, okay, what is he having kids? Okay, what are the name of the kids? You should know that. If you want the client to be working for you, you should be. Created this idea from is we have a very good community in India which is called Banya. Okay, Guptas and all that Banyas. We might be doing. Everyone knows what a Banya is. So when I was sitting with a Banya, he told me that you should know the deep, what is the deep inside that your prospective client, what's in his stomach. You should know what is in his stomach, and then when you know it, then you have won that person, and you can get anything what you would desire from.
So we're running short of time, sir. What's the question?
No, I'm just answering.
I think the observation is, then know your client.
Yes,
and know your client just doesn't superficially,
yes,
but in-depth knowledge about your client. And
definitely, you should know when he is on leave, when he is on holiday.
I could agree, point taken, but I would probably want to disagree on the some parts of your this thing. If somebody wants to know about my kids, probably I'll be a little more wary about it. Okay.
No,
so it's not. My only suggestion is it's not a way to draw. You need to draw a line somewhere.
Yes.
And be careful about you not crossing the boundary, because as soon as you cross the boundary, it's more damaging than what your intent was. So be careful about that.
So I'll take that.
Customer intimacy is important, but don't get so intimate that you start asking him about his bedroom lines.
Definitely, that would be that.
You can't do it.
That would be insane.
By the way, you can't do it with Westerners. Okay.
Yeah.
Just be very careful about it. You cannot do it. You cannot ask personal question to a Westerner. It can be very damaging.
I do agree with you, sir. I am not insane. I know what should be the limits. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay.
So great. Thank you.
There is one question. I think we can take that last.
Yeah. So let's take one last question. Yes, sir.
The internal marketing thing. I'm Lokesh Tripathi. I'm from Indotherm Equipment Corporation, Faridabad. We are from a manufacturing line, furnace manufacturing sector. So internal marketing part, knowledge enhancement. If we explain to our employees that what is the product, what are its features, and everything about it, he can deliver the same to the client, that he can market the product well. And what if we lose the business, if he starts his own business regarding that? What can be done about it?
You should be happy about it that you created one more entrepreneur.
No, but that's a risk.
No.
Yeah.
This is the thing that's happening in manufacturing line.
That's a risk that you always run, right? If you're afraid of swinging, you cannot really win the battle, right? Or you cannot win the match. You have to keep swinging, and obviously there will be some hits and some misses. So you have to take them in your stride. You can't be constantly insecure that if I share knowledge with somebody else, that person will go and start a parallel business. That's a fact of life. If he or she wants to do it, they will any which ways do it, irrespective of whether you want to share knowledge or you don't want to share knowledge. I think you're better off sharing knowledge than kind of keeping it all by yourself.
And I think the last thing that you don't want to share in today's world where information is there in everybody's pocket is knowledge.
Absolutely.
The more you share, the more you create, and I think he'll be a far better vocal ambassador. When he goes out to see customers, he's going to say that I've learned from my previous organization, so he's actually carrying your brand. So I think that's a nice, lighter, softer, sticky note to end on. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your insightful answers, and thank you, audience, for your participation. And we'll move to the next. So from a panel, we now have a presentation from Dr. Govind, who is NIXI, the National Internet Exchange of India, where he's been with the Ministry of Information and Technology for over 30 years. He's a doctorate from IIT Delhi and has been involved in the propagation of internet penetration in the country for many years. He's also involved in running the IN registry, the National Internet Registry, and has been involved with government, stakeholders, private parties in spreading the message and expanding internet in the country. Dr. Govind, may I request you to please come on stage? A round of applause for Dr. Govind. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mohit, for the introduction. And I was listening to the previous panel, Mr. Mohit and Mr. Sandeep and Mr. Niyogi. It was very wonderful, you know. Like we are running the .in registry, the .in domain, which is country's top level domain, the country specific domain. So we also went through this kind of, you know, what jargon you presented, you know, the viewership versus the audio or the reading the material. So we went for the TV serial, TV ad for the .in last year compared to the newspaper, print and the outdoor media and other kind of thing. And we found that, you know, ultimately the social media, the Facebook, the Twitter, the LinkedIn and the TV is the most powerful medium today in the digital world. So it was very wonderful panel, very wonderful, interesting discussion, which we also went through, as I told earlier, in our .in branding for the country, because it is country's own proud .in domain compared to .com. So what I am going to talk today is as you have seen, today's world is a digital world. We cannot survive without the digitization, without anything. So what we are looking is the kind of, asked to speak on the digital India. So I will give you a snapshot of what is digital India, the Prime Minister's Narendra Modi's pet program, which he unleashed when he took over as the Prime Minister last year. So this is about the program to prepare India for the future. As you all know, the focus is on being transformative to realize IT, and here is a pet slogan that IT plus IT is equal to IT. What does it mean? IT is the information technology, and IT is Indian talent, and IT is India's tomorrow's India tomorrow. So, you know, we have a 500 million plus young generation compared to any part of the world. We have a good English speaking population and IT resources, IT as business. We are presently doing more than 100 billion ITS enterprises and in this business in the country. So what we need is to, you know, how we can leapfrog the kind of IT infrastructure which we need to develop in the country, and that is all about the focus of marketing technology to the central to the enabling change, which is going to be the key game changer for the country like India, where we have not done enough for the industrial sector or the other agricultural sector. So we want to see how the information, the knowledge society can bring that kind of. So this will be an umbrella program covering many departments of the government. It weaves together a large number of ideas and thoughts into a single comprehensive vision so that each of them is seen as a part of the larger picture, larger goal. Today, the various ministries of the government, though I retired about 2 years back from the ministry, where I worked for the last 25 years, working on the internet area, internet proliferation. So what we are looking is a kind of larger picture through the Digital India program in the country, because that is the future. You know, everyone talks about the digital. Today you look at the mobile phones in the country, it is more than 900 million mobiles in the country, and we are soon going to reach 1 billion mobiles. And we have a 300 million internet users. We have a smartphones. Even the current Economist magazine I was reading that, you know, the Micromax is giving smartphones under $40. So, you know, soon we are going to, out of the 7 billion population of the world, we are having the, you know, 300 million the internet users, which are second only to the China. We are overtaken the US in the internet use. And with the smartphone coming up more and more in the market, we are going to more on the broadband, we are on going to the thing, and the next billion challenges in the country is to bring more internet users which will be there in our region. The program is coordinated by Department of Electronics and Information Technology and supported by the other governments, other departments. The weaving together makes the mission transformative in totality, pulls together many existing schemes, restructuring and refocused, implemented in a synchronized manner, process improvements with minimal cost, and the common branding of the program is the Digital India. As today we are talking of the SMB sector connect and all the branding of the things. So Digital India is the single branding for the country which will help the globally to see that how we can get more and more investment in this sector and other kind of things. So vision for Digital India is centered in 3 areas: the digital infrastructure as a utility to every citizen, governance and services on demand, and digital empowerment of citizens. What is infrastructure? High-speed internet as a core utility. Because you cannot do digital activities, transactions, any activity on the digital world without accessing the internet. Cradle to grave digital identity, unique, lifelong, online, authenticable structure where, you know, whatever you want to do in the digital world, you need a credible kind of like Aadhaar kind of thing which is there. Mobile phone and bank account enabling participation in digital and financial space. Easy access to common service centers. You know, whatever with the G2C and B2C kind of the services which are there, how to enable that will again be released only after if we have a proper infrastructure. Shareable private space on a public cloud, and safe and secure cyberspace. So we cannot talk about the Digital India or the accessibility without having a proper cyber security in space. The second leg of this vision is the governance and services on demand, seamlessly integrated across departments or jurisdictions. Services available in real time from online and mobile platform. All citizen entitlements to be available on the cloud. So today we need if you go to a school or college admission or any transaction in the bank, they ask many certificates, many documents. If all these, the government is making an effort to see the digital locker system where, you know, all these documents are available on the cloud and you just pull up and show your things to the agency, and there need not be you are carrying lot many documents for each and every agency wherever you are going to do your job. So that kind of service, ease of doing businesses and, you know, financial transactions, electronic and cashless, leveraging GIS for decision support system, that kind of ecosystem we have to make, like whether we have to set up a hotel or a school or a college or hospital in a particular area, what is the distances, what are the geographical information system that particular region, that will all be enabled if we digitize the country in the proper manner. Digital empowerment of citizens, this is a universal digital literacy program. Unless we talked in the previous, you know, we have to internally empower our, our internal employees. Today we forget about that, we doing the business externally, we forget about our own internal employees. They should be, even in the home or even in the, anywhere in the offices, we don't make them skill development. We don't train them. Successive training kind of thing which is not there. And all document certificates should be available on cloud, availability of digital resources and Indian languages. This is very important because today we have the English speaking population is only 10 to 15% and the rest of India is not aware of the English. So how to reach them? We can access them the internet, but how to make available the digital content in the local languages in all the 22 official languages of the country. This is a big challenge because our own digital content in the local languages are very less compared to the English or German or the Chinese or Japanese and the Korean. I was in Japan last week. I have seen that all their transactions, all their activities are done through their own Japanese language. And today we are not proud of our own language, that we think English is the way forward for everything. But for the common man who doesn't have to go to abroad or those kind of things, how to reach them, how to make them understand that, look, this is your own language content in the various transactions or the information which we have to provide. I will come to my .in domain, what I will come later, that we have unleashed the domain names in the local languages also, like .bharat in Devanagari script, which covers Marathi, Hindi, Nepali, Bodo, Dogri, and Sindhi, and all those Maithili kind of languages. And then Bangla, Manipuri, Tamil, Malayalam, Punjabi, Urdu, Kashmiri, and a variety of our languages. Unless you see your domain name in your own language, that is the first challenge with the illiterate person patterns in the system. So how to reach the content, web pages? Web pages like Navbharat Times is in Hindi, but to reach Navbharat Times in the local language or the content, you have to type it in Navbharat in English. So today you can type it in Hindi, Navbharat.Bharat. That kind of enablement we have done. Then there are digital platforms for participative governance and the portability of all entitlements through the cloud. So these are the 9 pillars of the digital India: the broadband highways, the universal access to phones, public internet access programs, e-governance, reforming government through technology, electronics manufacturing, target net zero imports. Today we are importing $100 billion of worth electronic goods, and soon by 2020 we will be reaching 400 billions. Then you can imagine we will be overtaking the oil bill in terms of electronic goods. So unless we develop our own capability in the manufacturing sector, Make in India program, so we would be nowhere. We have to learn a lot from the China and other countries who are going to develop, who are already developed the manufacturing sector, very robust system in their countries. IT for jobs, information for all, early harvest program, these are the pillars which the broadband highways, which you are, I will be covering a little bit. There is a scheme to cover the 250,000 gram panchayats in the country. Because unless we reach out to the villages, our Digital India program is not going to be success. And the timeline is by the next year end, and there is a capex of 32,000 crores, and nodal department is Department of Telecommunication. The first year program is to reach 50,000, then second year 100,000, then 100,000. This is the kind of thing. Broadband for all urban, virtual network operator for service delivery, changes in rules to facilitate the hotspots, national information infrastructures, SWAN, National Knowledge Network. This is already, we are covering the more than 1,000 institutions of higher learning, like medical, the educational institutions, engineering colleges and institutions, through the National Knowledge Network, so with the 1 gig of bandwidth. Universal access to mobile connectivity, this is a kind of coverage remaining whatever in the villages. 42 villages we have not yet provided the mobile. How to reach by the year 2018. ongoing program, increase network penetration and coverage of gaps wherever the gap is there. This is the Public Internet Access Program, National Rural Internet Mission. This is again reaching to the villages, timelines, and then post offices to become the multi-service centers instead of doing the traditional postal work. We are empowering the post offices. We have 150,000 post offices in the country. So how to make them more, business oriented in the variety of activities which can be done. Then we have a reforming government through technology, form simplification, reduction, online applications and tracking, interface between departments, use of online repositories, swaps of school certificates, voter ID cards, UIDI, payment gateways, mobile platforms, electronic databases to create workflow automation. So these are the kind of things which under the e-governance pillar of the Digital India program is in process to work. E-Kranti, electronic delivery of services. These are the plethora of services. E-education, all schools connected with broadband, technology for health, e-health, online medical consultation, medical records, online medicine supply. So you can see how if once we become more and more digital savvy and the accessibility is there, how we can unleash the variety of things in a much faster way, e-courts, e-police, e-jails, whatever we imagine that can be achieved through this kind of activities. Information for all, citizens have open, easy access to information, government proactively engaging through the social media and web-based, like mygov.in platform, you must have heard from the Prime Minister's thing, and then he is unleashing many programs through that platform. Any competition, any outsourcing, crowdsourcing, to get the more information. Like we have done also our .in domain logo competition, and we received more than 2,000 entries through this outsourcing platforms. So that way we have to see that how this Digital India programs, various aspects can be online messaging to citizens on special occasions, programs largely utilize existing infrastructure. This is the manufacturing part of the Digital India. Unless you have your own thing, because we have a large market in the country, unless we unleash the manufacturing sector in the country, how to make that easier through taxation, incentives, economies of scale, eliminate cost of disadvantages, all these things, fabs, fabless designs, set-top boxes, VSATs, mobiles, consumer and medical electronics, smart energy meters, smart cards, many of these things can be done through the small and medium industries sectors, and it is being done. Skill development, government procurement, all these things, areas are there which is going to be very important. IT for jobs, this is another pillar, and then we have an early harvest program like coverage, elected representatives, all government employees, how to reach them, how to make their attendances very common and open, and how to reach every government and central state governments through these programs. Early harvest programs continue all universities through connecting through National Knowledge Network, 400 additional universities, upgradation for 10 lakh employees, through the skill development and secure small email within the government sector. We have seen that how the email services we are employing for our own people, because most of the government employees are using presently the Gmails and other things, how we can get to the National Informatics Center. So this is the institutional mechanism at national level. Monitoring Committee on Digital India, Digital India Advisory Group is chaired by the Minister of Communications and IT. Apex Committee is chaired by Cabinet Secretary. DITI, Department of Electronics and Information Technology, and there are the line ministries and state governments who are at the lower end. This is the minister at the apex level, the secretary below that, and how the joint secretaries in the various pillars who are managing each and every part of this pillar which I talked about earlier. These are some cost figures, 100,000 crores in the ongoing schemes, DOT, because we have to see that how there can be a synergy between the various departments, and the new schemes, 13,000 crores, impact of Digital India, which we are targeting, broadband in 2.5 lakh villages, net zero imports by 2020, 400,000 public internet access points, Wi-Fi in 2.5 lakh schools, all universities, public Wi-Fi hotspots for citizens, digital inclusion, 1.7 crore trained for IT, telecom and electronics jobs, job creation, e-governance and e-services, India to be a leader in IT use in services, health, education, banking, and digitally empowered citizens. So all these steps, all these impactful outcomes of the Digital India, which we are aiming for by 2019, and this gives an opportunity also for the small and medium enterprises to chip in wherever they feel that, it is their area where they can come in a big way. Some challenges and changes needed. Program on this scale never conceived in a country like India. Each pillar program has own challenges. Human resource issues, NIC. There are skill development issues because we don't have enough skilled people to manage these Digital India programs at various levels. Financial resource issues, coordination issues. So these are some of the challenges, but nevertheless, we have to overcome these challenges if we really want to make the country digitally empowered and the citizen in a better way. SME sector, how this is a SME, people here, how this is the backbone of the economy, contributing 45% of the industrial output, 40% of the country's total exports, employing 60 million people, creating 1.3 million jobs every year, producing more than 8,000 quality products for the Indian and international market. So you can see that how the Digital India program and what are the outcomes, what are the matrices of that, and how we can align the various SME sector activities in that line. Size of SME, which I think 30 million SMEs in India, 12 million people expected to join workforce in the next 3 years, sector growing at a rate of 8%. Looking at the growth story and huge potential, Government of India is taking several measures to increase their competitiveness in the international market. Funding of SMEs by local and foreign investors, new technology that is used in the market which is assisting SME and adding considerable value to their business. So these are the three factors contributing towards the growth of Indian SMEs. Challenges are the absence of adequate and timely banking finance, non-availability of suitable technology, ineffective marketing. This is I will not go into this is the kind of internet ecosystem, some other time I can bring out, how the internet ecosystem is working, who are the various, players in that, like who are the bodies globally managing the internet, like ICANN, Internet Corporation, who manages your domain names, who manages your IP addresses. That part also we need to be taking a keen interest today, because once we are all on the digital, we are all on the internet, who runs the internet, who manages the internet globally, and where we have to have our stake or not. That is an important aspect of the internet governance. And here comes the NIXI. NIXI is the National Internet Exchange of India, which is a Section 25 company. We also started way back in 2003 with the joint efforts of DIT and ISPI Internet Service Providers. NIXI is a neutral exchange point. The aims of the NIXI is to promote internet, set up the select locations, the internet exchange points, set up internet domain name operations and related activities, to act as a national internet registry. We became the internet registry way back in 2012 because the IP version 4 and IP version 6, these are the two protocols of the internet which we have allocated either to by the APNIC, the Asia Pacific Network Information Center earlier. Now we are making availability of these things through our NIXI and National Internet Registry. To act as a registry for, I talked about the .in domains and the internationalized domain names, which are the local language domain names, to act the registry for the generic top level domains. There are two kinds of domains, as I hope everybody knows, that one is the generic top level domains like .com, .net, .org and all those kind of things, and there are country code top level domains like .in, .uk, .us and all those kind of stuff. So what is the generic top level domains? That recently ICANN has unleashed 2,000 of such top level domains, generic top level domains like .doctor, .engineer, .beauty, .book, anything you tell, and the branding also. That today the branding can be at your company, like .birla, .reliance, .amazon and those kind of stuff. So once these kind of branding comes, the branding to the domain names, like rather than going for amazon.com or reliance.com, you can put your domain or your name of the company at the top level of the domain. So that will help you to configure your business, your branding, your identification in the internet space through your own company. You need not go for the .com. So this kind of generic top level domains is a big opportunity for the industry, Indian companies, to go for that. Like suppose we go for a geographical city based domains, .Delhi, .Mumbai, .Bengaluru. So then all branding of that particular city can come through. All the schools, colleges, hotels, enterprises, everything can be configured around that. So that will be a big business coming up for this in the domain industry. So there I feel that our SME sector can see a great opportunity from the internet business angle point of view. This is the registry which I talked about, the IPv4 and IPv6 allocation point of view. And these are the internationalized domains. And here you can see the kind of local language like .Bharat written in Devanagari, then the .Bharat written in Bangla, .Bharat in Telugu, Gujarati, Urdu, Tamil and Gurumukhi Punjabi. So today you can write your in the URL your own domain name in local languages. So that will be a big boost to the small and medium enterprises, where they feel that language is the barrier to reach to the villages, because the market is expanding towards the hinterland of the countries. So the language barrier, the productization of that, the branding of your things, the domain names, that will be the first hindrance where they can overcome this kind of thing. So these are some of the figures which our registry has. We have 1.7 million domains today and 104 registrars. So we can build up the registrar business in the country. More and more people can come for the resellers and the registrar business for the selling the .in domains, which are the lowest in prices compared to .com or any other domains, .net or all. The sustaining the growth rate of 6.9%, the SME sector is properly need to be nurtured. Empower the SME sector, rightful place of the growth engine of the economy, skill development, tying up with education institutions to provide much needed talent directly to SME sector. Government assisted training programs support can bring benefit to IT literacy to SMEs. So SME sector, which is a very large sector, an untapped sector in the country, needs a lot of such empowerment through the Digital India program. Cyberspace, there is an opportunity here to empower the Indian SME sector utilizing the resources available under the Digital India program. While the contours of the between the Ministry of MSME and the Digital India program is worked out, NIXI would be to join the hands with the SME sector to increase its competitors. We can provide NIXI .in registry, can tie up with the SME sector to bring domain names on the website. I think the previous panel they mentioned about your visibility is today through the websites and the social media. So how will you bring, unless you are there, your presence? Because today the challenge in most of the SME sector, I believe, is how to build the your websites. They need how to get the talent for IT. So let them specialize on their own core business of services or the products. The IT business can be taken, NIXI is ready to come up for bring those kind of .in domains and the website development and all those kind of things. Keen when SME sector registered with the RCA, NIXI is ready to provide .in or .bharat domain name to the company. So whenever you go for a registration, then and there itself a domain name can be provided, rather than it's an afterthought when after you starting your business for a year or two, then you feel that you have to go for a website development and all those kind of stuff. So we have written to the Ministry of Company Affairs so that any company which is coming for registration, get them the .in domain or .bharat domain immediately. So these are some of the things. If I'm ready for any questions, thank you very much. Yeah.
Hello, sir. I have two questions for you. One, you were talking about Digital India. How does the government promote it for SMEs? Reason why I'm asking is, if you talk about the tenders which have been floated recently with any of the companies, the eligibility criteria are so high, the SMEs cannot meet those eligibility criteria. Either it is with the turnover or it is with the number of manpower they should have. One is that. Second is about the domain registration. At times what happens, I've come across this many times, wherein a company who has not registered the domain, somebody else has registered on their behalf. Now, if suppose the company is already registered with ROC and somebody has registered the .in or .com domain on behalf of them, thinking that probably sometime back the company would come and they would earn some money from them. What kind of steps do your organization take in order to get them that domain back without having issues, litigation issues? Like for example, if today you want to get your domain back, the initial fee is about $1,000 to $2,000. So company says, yeah, $2,000 means I'll book a domain for about 20-30 years, another domain.
Okay. So I will come to the second questions answering because we have a dispute resolution mechanism. I understand that many people get cyber squatting the domain names earlier. Prior to because that's the awareness really needed. Even you will not believe that even the government departments are not booked their domain names. We are struggling daily getting letters from that. Some like IAF, Indian Air Force, has been scattered by some local guy. Bhajpa or BJP taken by some guy. Indian National Congress, INC. Even there the digital, we are all talking about the IT and internet and broadband and everything. But we have not the first step is to book your thing immediately whenever you go online. So having said that, it doesn't mean that those who have taken up your thing, you can complain to the dispute. There is a dispute resolution mechanism. Indian dispute resolution mechanism is there where arbitrators are there. They will take care of your thing. If you are already branded your product or your name, then you will get back that, depending on the situation.
What is the process and where do we do it?
In the .in case, you have to apply to the .in registry. Yeah, .in registry, and there are a panel of arbitrators. Or you write to the registry, we will direct you to one of the arbitrators, and then you have to supply your papers.
How about .com or some?
.com, there is another VeriSign, and they are not under us. It is done by there are other UDRP, Universal Dispute Resolution Mechanism is there. Globally there are arbitrators.
But the charges are very high, sir. Like
their charges are high.
Are very high.
Because there's a universal kind of thing, but we are charging very low in the.
So what are
realizing that none of the SME sector or our people cannot pay that high the fees when arbitration is done, and we make a time-bound process to complete the process in that thing.
And how about the first question?
The first question, what I believe is, today we are going the tender document e-tenders. But what your question is, many of these tenders, they put the bar very high. That is up to the departments or those where we do not come into the picture, depending on who are the right kind of people available in the country, whether they are capable of doing those things, and accordingly they specify the tender documents and those kind of things.
I totally agree, but as a digital campaign by the Government of India, are they taking steps to encourage SMEs into these sectors? Like suppose, imagine that if I am into web development, I do a good job. I can define that if you pick up any government website, we can do a 1000% better job than any of them. So as a part of initiative, does the government take any initiative to encourage people like us?
Yeah, I think the e-governance portal in the I can talk about our ministry's portal where they are trying to give this kind of businesses to the newcomers, and again we will be more cost competitive than any established or bigger players in the market. So that way it is very easy to come and those kind of things. And it depends on the how much you can make a credibility with the government departments and what are the tender terms and conditions and those kind of things. Yeah.
I have to take an observation, like for the same thing, like Amit was saying, that for the tender process, normally what is happening is the eligibility criteria is very high. Big companies take those tenders and then they sublet it to smaller companies. Ultimately, the work is done by SMEs, but the SMEs are getting much less paid. Government is paying a higher value to the big companies, maybe SC or somebody else, any other company. Let's say they release a tender and for let's say 2,000 crores. But when they are distributing it to the smaller companies, to the SMEs, they are not just distributing 500 crores of it. So that way you have to look at it how the things can be done by SMEs.
Yeah.
I have one more thing, like for the .in domains that you are totally handling. I've seen like sometimes the websites are offering .in at a lesser price than .com, but the renewal is much higher. Like I tell you for every site you can go to it, and you can get a .com domain renewal maybe in around 700 rupees. But .in you don't get in less than 1,000. At least I think you should.
No, I think it is the other way around. It is 700 is the .in and 1,000 is for the .com. And we are,
renewal is always
renewal I am talking about, because first year we want to give, say, very 50 rupees or something like that, very low price, because if he gets used to it for a year, the next year he will come for the usual prices and all those kind of things. So again, there's a
market normally the other way around. We have our perception or maybe the other one perception, but I've seen lots.
Because what we have done, we are not getting into the let the market forces play, because .in registry as such is not dictating the registrars.
Can we go directly to your site and book it so that we can get that price?
I don't think, because we are not directly selling this, we are doing through the distribution mechanism of registrars and all those kind of things.
Again, actually, what is happening is,
Yeah, but we are trying to see that if we tie up with the, these big registrars and see that the bundling with the other kind of domains and that marketing base, we are going to start that.
Can you fix up a price band?
No, price we cannot, it depends, because they are bundling it with many other features. Website development, domain names, and email services and all that. So it is not alone the domain, maybe something included in the whole
I'm
service.
just talking about the domain. Normally, renewal is much higher than .com.
No, I don't know. I don't know whether it is.
Thank you for the observation. There are officials from Nixie, who can answer that question more pointedly over lunch break. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful presentation. We have a small token of appreciation for you. Can I ask Sandeepan Ray to please So from branding to digital India, so I see a couple of common threads between our first session and the presentation. SMBs are struggling to build a brand to connect with their customers, and the panacea or the solution lies in the digital world. And the government is struggling to connect with the citizens, and they're also looking for that solution in the digital domain. But there is one more solution that most SMBs are always looking for, and which is dollars, rupees, funds. So our next guest, Mr. Lokesh Uppal, heads a brokerage firm, and you would know him because he's a very popular face. You see him very often on Zee Business, so I'm not going to take much time introducing him. Let me hand it over to you, Mr. Uppal. He's going to talk about how to get funding.
Thank you. I'll just, is it working? Yeah, perfect. Get the PPT now. PPT slide moving hai? Slider. The slider you have? Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning ladies and gentlemen. It's been an honor to be with you all. I'm director with MyStock Research Limited. Our company is into SME funding, and we look into the multiplication of the
investments as well. We will be touch base on two topics. One is to provide the funding for the SMEs, and the second topic will be covering the multiplication of the funds in the second phase, in which we will be discussing how the provisions have been made by the government to provide funds for the SMEs. That is one. Second, if the SMEs are looking forward to achieve their long-term goals with the horizon of 10 years and 20 years, how they can look into the different investment products which can help them to gain profits from the current market conditions. Okay, so let's start the presentation without taking much of your time. Now, we have the presentation and we normally have the two questions. One is how to raise funds and how can we multiply funds keeping the future goals as a main objective. So we'll touch base the first part, that is how to raise funds. The second part is how to raise funds for the SMEs. That is a bigger question. As we were going through the previous presentation, and a lot of my fellow friends were asking a couple of questions like, big organizations take contracts from the government's worth 2,000 crores and they pass on that contracts to the small SMEs with a lesser margin of funds, which don't provide an opportunity for SMEs to go to that platform where they can make money at that scale by taking contracts worth 2,000 crores or 3,000 crores. The problem lies with the funding. The funding is an important part of every organization or every business, because that's the backbone. Like the backbone, we have to support our spinal, our body. Fund is the requirement of the business to support their businesses and their operations. So this is the main question, that we are in a demand-oriented economy. India is a demand-oriented economy. We always have a demand for funds, and funds. We never see a surplus fund coming to our economy. We always have a demand. The government has a demand. The small businesses have demands. High organizations have demands. Companies like Infosys, Wipro, they also have a high demand for funds. So we are in a demand-oriented economy where we need funds to generate a business scale. Reach is important to gain new business scales, to compete in the current market conditions. As I was discussing, that we have to compete with big companies which have big horizons. After the globalization of the economy, we have limited margins. Previously, if I understand, when I was a kid, my father was running a business. We used to listen to him that the business margins is around 35%, 40%, 50%, and they were making good money. In the year 1991, when the globalization took place, a lot of companies from abroad came down to India with the same kind of products. The margins squeezed. When I meet people today, they say our business margins are around 7%. Some people say my business margin is around 5%. And they keep on creeping, you know. They say it's like, we pay 3% interest per month, my business margin is 6%, end of the day, bank ka to byaj bhi nahi nikalta. If I agree, this is the thought of the every SME we have right now. जिस आदमी से भी, आदमी हिंदी में भी चलेगा थोड़ा सा, आप किसी भी बिजनेसमैन से अगर 2 मिनट आधा घंटा बैठ के बात करेंगे तो वो बोलेगा मेरा तो ब्याज भी नहीं निकलता, मेरा तो खर्चा ही पूरा हो रहा है. This is a normal layman language that we're listening across the board from last 4 to 5 years. Now, after the globalization, this is what we discussed. Now, there are a couple of questions we have. We need funds for operations in a minimum rate of interest. 18%, 19%, 20% अगर ब्याज पे फंड मिलेगा तो धंधा कैसे चलेगा? Because the margins have squeezed. We are on a lower margin side. Then the cost of funding should justify our margins and profitability. The cost of funding is important. If my fund is costing me around 18%, that is not justifying my business. Yes, if the cost is around 7%, 6% or still 9%, I still have a scope to compete in the market and to fulfill my goals, and I can create some profit in my company. Funds available should be flexible in nature. They should not be rigid. कि मैंने कंपनी से एक बार पैसा ले लिया, तो I have to be bonded. They should be flexible in nature. They can be made useful for you as and when the requirements are there. If the company needs a fund for say 6 months, they can use it for 6 months. If they require it for 3 months, they can use it for 3 months. They should not be rigid in nature. Now, in the fourth one, in case of intercurrency trades, one should be hedged against the currency volatile movements. This is the important part. We have a lot of SMEs and medium entrepreneurs which are doing very good in the global markets in case of exports or they are importing, and they have a very good global presence. The volatile movement of the currency is creating a lot of problem for them. They borrow funds in an internal commercial borrowings, which we call about ECCBs. If they borrow funds at a price of say $58, down the line 18 months, the dollar price goes up to 65, and they have a repayment date, that is after 2 years, and the current prices of the dollar is 68. Now the basic problem is they are borrowing at a price of 58. When the repayment times comes back, they are repaying at the price of 68. So there is an intercurrency problem. So if the company is trying to make some profits or have managed to make profits in the last 18 months or 20 months, the moment they go for the repayment of the funds, they will incur a loss. Why? Because they'll be paying 10 rupees extra per dollar plus some taxes plus some charges which have been applicable by the government to repay the loans. So that is very important. In case of intercurrency trades, one should be hedged against the currency and monetary movements. Now the question is very important. The government talks about the 8% GDP, gross domestic product should be 8%. 45% of the manufacturer's output, 40% share in exports, and more than 6,000 products. Government have a global vision today and nowadays. You must be listening, just reading in papers. Make in India, made in India, make in India, made in India. Make in India, made in India is only possible if the backbone of the industry is well placed. If I have to produce this small slide player, I should not import this from China. I should get it from a company based in India, right? To get this thing from India, I need a company which has a good background, a good funding, good technology, and they should provide me this product. Then this is make in India for me, then this is make in India for me. If I am buying this product from China, I don't think I am on the right track, or my economy is moving on the right track. So that is very important. More than 36 million of the units are out of 80% are unregistered. Basic problem. SMEs and medium entrepreneurs have two kind of categories. One is registered, one is unregistered. Registered है, they pay all taxes, वो income tax भी दे रहा है, sale tax भी देगा, excise भी देगा, बाबू लोग को सुनेगा भी. एक unregistered segment भी होगा, वो कुछ भी नहीं कर रहा. वो धंधा लेके बैठा है, वो ना वो इनकम टैक्स भर रहा है, ना सेल टैक्स भर रहा है, ना एक्साइज भर रहा है, और बाबू लोग के सामने चौड़ा होकर बैठा, जो करना है कर लो. प्रॉब्लम उस वजह से क्या होता है कि when this kind of category enters the market, he don't have any kind of external expenses. आपको अपना प्रोडक्ट बेचना है, उसमें सेल टैक्स भी लगाना है, एक्साइज भी लगाना है, और सारा खर्चा भी जोड़ना है. उसने टैक्स का भी चोरी करना है, एक्साइज भी नहीं पे करना, और कुछ भी नहीं करना, वो मार्केट में कम्पीट कर जाएगा. आपका प्रोडक्ट खर्चा डाल के क्वालिटी के साथ 100 रुपए का पड़ता है, उसका प्रोडक्ट 80 रुपए का पड़ता है, क्योंकि उसने तो कुछ किया ही नहीं है. That is the unregistered category. So that is very important. The company should get registered first for all kind of funding requirements if they're looking forward from the government or from the exchanges or from abroad. A registration is very, very important. Provide employment for over 80 million. Yes. India is a middle class economy right now. Previously it was considered as a Sapero की economy when I heard it in papers and wrote it in papers. लिखते थे कि Sapero की economy थी. हमारे मोदी साहब भी यही बोलते हैं. लेकिन आज हम बात करते हैं it's economy based on IT, it's economy based on technologies, based on services, banking, manufacturing. Yes. So SMEs and medium entrepreneurs provide employment for over 80 million people. And this segment has lots of upside to it. This can goes up to 200 million as well. If the SMEs expand, they'll create more jobs. One job given to one person in an economy creates food for 4 people in the family. That's what I have read when I was doing MBAs and I was studying. My father used to tell me, एक घर का आदमी कमाता है तो 4 घर के आदमी खाते हैं. आज in today's world, if we have 4 people in the family, the goal should be all 4 should be earning, and that is only possible if the SMEs expand. Everybody can't go to Wipro, everybody can't go to Infosys, right? The seats are limited. So where the rest of the world will go? They'll go to the medium and small entrepreneurs, right? So vibrant, flexible, resilient makes SMEs the backbone of the Indian economy. Now, that is important. We see an enterprise. Enterprise is divided into different segments based on the scales. When we have manufacturing, investments in plant and machinery, then this is separated to the service sector. Micros up to 25 lakhs is a small. Small above 25 and up to 5 crores is maintained. Medium is above 5 crores to 10 crores, and micros up to 10 lakhs, which means a company which is between 25 lakhs to 5 crores is considered as a small entrepreneur. Above 5 crores and with 10 crores is considered as a medium entrepreneur, and above 10 crores is considered as a bigger organization. Now this is the percentage of SMEs. We have been declining. We have been declining. See, SCs, STs, OBCs, others and micro-recorded. Percentage distribution of enterprise by social groups of owners. Not recorded is 0.9. You see? Now the Apex Financial Institutes or SMEs. Collateral free loans up to 1 crore. Now this is important how the funds will be provided. Collateral free loans up to 1 crore can be granted. I think banks have the facilities with the GMs and the people above those levels have the special powers. They can provide you collaterals up to 1 crore. They can give you loans up to 1 crore without any collaterals. I think most of you must be aware of these kind of products. Then we have coupons supported by the VFCs, AIFs, SMEs risk capital funds, Indian opportunity venture funds. They are available in the market which can provide you funds at a minimum rate of interest. Then SMEs, exclusive SME rating agencies. Yes. Every company needs a rating if they're looking forward to go for any kind of loans or procedures in the markets. If you have a higher rating, your debt will be definitely at a lower cost. Like for example, if you talk about companies like Reliance, you talk about companies like Infosys, they have AAA rating plus. If the rating on the higher side, you go to the external borrowings, you go abroad, you borrow from funds there, your rate of interest will definitely decline. So for a good SME to move forward in 20 years, 25 years ahead from today, one should understand only two things. One, the company should be working in the right direction. That is very important. They should be properly registered, they should be working in the right direction. Secondly, they should control the debts and they should control the feasibility of funds in the company. If your rating is very good, mark my word sir, mark my word friends, if the rating of the company is very good, nobody down the line in the world can say no to you to provide funds. And you will definitely get funds, you will definitely, mark my words again, you will definitely get funds at a cheaper price. People who are getting funds for a price of say 3%, 4% per annum, they are not gods, they are humans like us. The only basic difference they have made in the life is they have kept the rating of the company absolutely perfect. So that's the focus. That is what we are looking at. Nobody is looking at funds at 18%. Everybody is looking at funds around 5%, 6%. External commercial borrowings, FCCBs, ECCBs, fund borrowings. This is what the backbone of the economy nowadays. Now we have the direct financial practices. That is traditional products. Traditional products, as आपको बताया, ज़मीन पर गिरवी रखो और you get it. It called a loan against property. It can be FDs. It can be term loans. And then we have risk capital products and sustainable finances. Now we have the new business models. Addressing financial gaps and non-financial gaps with the purpose of facilitating higher credit flow to the SME sectors and to make the sector strong, vibrant, and internationally competitive. Financial gaps. Financial gaps ये होता है कि जब हमारे को requirement होती है to meet. Yeah, we have the financial gaps when we have certain requirements, we have to bridge them up to increase the scale of the company. Then we have non-financial gaps where we have couple of expenses which we don't have calculated in the initial part. So that is called financial and non-financial gaps. इस तरह की हमारे को भी funding चाहिए होती है company में as a kind of surplus to meet the gaps and to fulfill the goals. Now microfinance, microcredits. Microfinance inclusive vehicle to reach is a vehicle to reach out to the least exclusive and bottom of the field of the pyramid. Pioneer MFI models, credit plus through CBs, CBNA based on rating structures pattern. Whatever discussed in the previous model was CBNA based on ratings. The ratings is important. Neutralizing and handholding of the 140 MFIs, total funding support of 9,308 crores, benefiting 32 million persons, mostly women. There are special provisions for women's companies where the entrepreneurs, the owners are women. There are special segments introduced by the government where they can take loans in the name of the women. Because nowadays women power is equally there with us. We say 50-50, now it should be close to that as well. People used to talk about 45%, but we understand it's almost close to 50-50 right now. Now the second is propagating responsibilities, responsible microfinance in India, promoting transparency and resolution in the interest rates. Interest rate is the biggest fight right now. People have been looking at RBI, that they will be looking forward to cut down the lending rates, which is the biggest pressure in the economy right now. But we need to understand, we cannot reduce the rates overnight. But there's a big argument in the economy right now that RBI should go ahead and reduce the interest rates. But my fellow friends, it's not that simple. We cannot simply go and reduce rates to provide the funds, because the other global factors which are also affecting the economy, right? But the basic requirement is everybody wants the rates to be lowered. That is the requirement. Creating a platform termed as lender forms, India microfinance forms, code of conduct assessment, credit bureau to avoid multiple lending, encouraging information sharing amongst the MFIs. Government sponsored schemes. Government limited capital subsidy scheme has been introduced with 15% capital of subsidy for education of proven technologies and approved products. Like for example, I'll just illustrate that. We recently had the union budget where there was a lot of buzz around solar energy and renewable energy. People were talking about, you must be reading in the papers as well. Now government has certain plans, they have certain, goals, visions, which they need to fulfill. It's called a prime lending sort of facility given by the government, which means if the companies have a good technology and they're looking forward to create solar energy, which is the goal of the government as well, they're looking forward to increase 35,000 megawatts of power, and they can be increased to do solar or renewable energy. Governments will be providing some kind of prime, they will consider it as a prime lending sector for that kind of industry, and the rate of interest will be lowered and certain facilities will be given to those kind of companies. So that is one of the parts which I discussed in the example. I've given example, that is credit linked capital subsidy schemes given by the government. Technology upgradation of the fund schemes, interest subsidy of 5% of upfront, capital subsidy of 15% under CLSCs, top FS for proposing unit additions 10% capital subsidy, integrated element of leather sector schemes, definitely. Leather sector schemes, and then you might have recently heard also that the excise duties on the leather products have been reduced. I think most of you must be aware of it. There was a problem in the economy, like a lot of companies, they were discussing that the leather is definitely a little problem for them, and secondly the production was going down, the output was there but the demand was not there, so they have reduced the excise duties on the leather products. So you see companies like Bata, you see companies like Liberty, they must be doing well in the coming 6 to 7 months. Food processing industries. The schemes for new units as well as existing units undertaking modernization expansions will be eligible in machinery. 25% of the cost of eligible plants and machinery and technological civil works would be a cap of 50 lakhs and higher subsidies and so on. Definitely companies looking for good quality products, they're looking at food, and the budget itself also states. I'm relating this to budget as well because every industry is more or less impacted by the budget, and government policies cannot go beyond the outer framework of the budget, which is the framework of the government. In budget there is a special provision for e-food. E-food means when you go to the trains, you don't have to eat that 100 rupees box that you normally used to have. You can simply go to the web portal, you can book a food from say what, Jubilant, is like pizza or Domino's. Is that Domino's, right? Good, you're hearing. That's Domino's. So you can simply go ahead and book your food with Domino's, whatever desire you want, double toppings, single toppings, everything will be served to you hot and spicy. So these kind of things are there. Then multiply funds to meet our goals. Funds to aa gaye, organizations chal padi, and things are well off. My friends, you'll be a little surprised if I give you a very small example, and you'll be very, very surprised to hear that. And trust me, I have recently come across that kind of figure in my life just a couple of days back by my friend who stays in US. I thought we had made a good money in the last couple of years, we are filthy good, but I think we have lost a lot of money by doing nothing in our lives. Because the kind of explanation he gave me, that was a mind opener for me. He told me, dear, what's your age? I said, I'm 35. He said, when were you born? I said, I was born in the year 1980, 77, 76. He said, at what age, what was your age when you were at the age of 1989? I said, must be 15, 16, studying in school, and my school friend is sitting along with me, who's my partner as well. He said, what would be your father's income? My father must be doing very well. I was studying in DPS, one of the biggest schools in Delhi, and the fees were damn high, and we used to have a lavish life. He said, did your father invested in Wipro or Infosys in the year 1989? I said, what are you talking about? My father never discussed about this. He said, had been a case where your father would have invested 10,000 shares worth, say, 10 rupees. Mark my words, sir, 10,000 shares worth 10 rupees, which gives you adequate capital of, say, 1 lakh. A wild guess from the audience will be highly appreciated. Yourself, sir, what do you think would be the current value of that money? Any wild guess? Guesses have no pricing in India. Trust me. So give me the bottom figure. It could be 50 lakhs, crores. Who's 100 crores? You 100 crores. Anybody else close to that?
Yes, that is right.
Anything else, sir? Sir, yourself? Any wild guess, sir. No get exceeding guess. I'm guessing, sir. Trust me.
Probably even higher than that figure.
So give me the figure.
It's around 300. Yeah.
300? Any further guess? Come on, sir. It's open forum. It cannot be like this. I just keep on saying and you just keep on listening. There should be a good interaction, you know. It makes it healthy and happy for everyone. Any wild guess? Ah, that's little higher. That's little higher.
30 crores.
Huh?
30 crores.
Okay. That gentleman is trying to be a little closer. He tried to get a little more closer, but the exact amount is 580 crores. Which means, if somebody would have invested that kind of amount in that particular month or that particular year, had been Infosys, sir, would have been 900 crores. But I only discussed Wipro because I was working with Wipro Technologies. So I earned my bread and butter, so always loyal to that company since now. So that's around 580 crores. And the best part is you can search this information at the Google itself. You don't have to run here and there. So this is what the multiplication of the money is all about. In SMEs, we always talk about funding. We get funds, sir. We get business. We discuss, yes, margins are less, but still we get business and we do business. But the most important part is, once we save the funds, are we putting them in the right direction? I meet so many people in the world. I interact normally with 100, 200 people. When I sit on air, I receive calls directly. When I talk about sitting on air, when I'm sitting on the channel, people keep on calling us. We have bought this. We want to hold it for a month. We normally tell them, why you want to invest for a month? There is nothing called for a month. How can you make a Rome in a month? Rome cannot be made in a month. Rome was never made in a month. It took years. So when we talk about multiplication of the funds, we need to invest in the right direction, keeping a lot of goals in mind. If I understand, some of us are middle-aged, around 50s to 60s, or maybe say 45 to 60s. Pardon, I am very bad in judging. So most of us must be aged between 25 to 30. Some of us must be between 35 to 40. Some of us could be above 60. That depends on the kind of people we have here, other community sitting with us. Now, if a person sitting at the age of 55, he must be contented. I have a daughter which has got married. I have a son which is married. He's looking after himself. Everything is perfectly done. A person based between the age of 30 and 35 desires, I should have an Audi Q3 for myself to run in, or an Apple 6 and a nice apartment to stay with my family. And I should at least have 2 holidays in the world. At least 2. Okay, if the inflation is too high and government is creating a problem, let's make it a one single vacation. Next, my vacation should be Macau. Why? Because Las Vegas is very expensive. I'll go to Macau, and if I have to gamble, I'll gamble there. So this is the desire of a normal person nowadays. Previously, people used to think, let's keep on, saving the funds in the FDs, and gradually the fund will grow and we'll get the obligations cleared. But now, things have changed. The economy has changed. The way of thinking has changed. You cannot beat inflation by simply keeping your money in the FD. Because if the FD is giving you, say, a highest return of, say, 8 to 9%, then what? Inflation is 12%. So which means on every 9 rupees you make, you spend 12 rupees, right? Which means you always maintain a deficit of 3 rupees. So down the line, after 20 years, definitely you will say, I am bankrupt. दुनिया कहाँ की कहाँ निकल गई, हम तो वहीं के वहीं रह गए. This is the basic language you all speak. मैं भी बोलता हूँ भाई, मैं भी कहता हूँ यार मेरे साथ के कहाँ चले गए, मैं तो वहीं रह गया. दुनिया बहुत आगे निकल गई. This is what we all talk, right? And we all are humans. Now let's come to the products. One is saying investing in mutual funds. Now there is two things in the market. One says investing in the markets, it's not a piece of cake. Agreed. But at the same time, let me give you two simple examples. If you don't know how to do the things directly, take someone who is professional. Like for example, Mr. Sir, I would like to participate a bit. Can I get your name, please? Manish, can I get your kind of business you're into?
We are into IT.
What kind of a software? Wonderful. So, I need a software, so Mr. Manish, can I do it myself? Why? Because I'm not that professional. I'll rather script it in the other way, and instead of taking out something, I'll take out something else, right? So when we talk about multiplying the funds, that's the example I wanted to quote. Multiplying funds means to investing in mutual funds. One, NSE interest rate future bonds. Governments have introduced interest rate future bonds. These are available on the websites of the NSE. Now this is important to understand. We have clients like Dalmia, we have clients like, I can just give you four examples. We have clients like Dalmia, we have clients from US, we have clients from Singapore, and we have a couple of clients from Bahrain as well. We have international presence of clients and some business giants in India as well. Now, when we talk to these kind of people, we understand one simple thing. The vision of a person sitting at those levels is pretty clear. He, any point of time, don't want to get beaten down by the inflation. That is important. It never wants to get beaten down by the inflation. He is always on a voice to beat the inflation itself. Now that's the basic difference. एक नॉर्मल लेमैन जो होता है वो ये सोचता है कि मैं महंगाई में किसी तरह अपना गुजारा कर लूं. Am I right, sir? Am I wrong or right? I need a little participation. This is just about to end. Am I right or wrong? लेकिन जब हम एक बिजनेस जाइंट्स की बात करते हैं, देश से महंगाई का हमें कुछ नहीं लेना देना, हमारा इनकम बढ़ना चाहिए. That is why we talk about people like Reliance, we'll talk about people like Infosys, Wipros, or say big SMEs which are there in the markets. So interest rate future bonds में क्या होता है? These, I'll explain that as well. Now capital markets. Capital markets is selection of the stocks. I keep on listening a lot of people who say हम तो capital markets से या stock market से पैसा बना ही नहीं सकते. Agreed. नहीं बना सकते. I have live examples. I have been through this. मानता हूँ आपको. नहीं बना सकते. But क्यों नहीं बना सकते? हम इसलिए नहीं बना सकते क्योंकि हमारा विजन बहुत छोटा है. आज हम एक घर की नींव खोदते हैं, उसमें हम पिलर डालते हैं, उसके बाद हम लेंटर लगाते हैं, उसके बाद उसका इंटीरियर्स करते हैं, तब कहीं जाके उसमें रहना शुरू करते हैं. क्या वो घर एक दिन में बन जाता है? नहीं बनता ना. उसको भी बनने में 15 महीना लगता है. तो अगर आप एक स्टॉक को सिलेक्ट करोगे तो उसे भी चलने में टाइम तो लगेगा ना, विद द मूविंग इकोनॉमी. सो कैपिटल मार्केट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. देन वी हैव हेज प्रोडक्ट्स. हेज प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं जैसे कि इंटरकरेंसी में भी डिस्कस कर रहा था, उसमें कुछ हेजिंग प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं which can be discussed upon. How one can hedge the risk in case of imports and exports. How can they hedge the ECBs and FCBs repayment schedules so that they should not lose money while they're going for the borrowings or the repayments of the loans, right? Now, overview of the stock markets, very important and very important to understand as well. We are currently trading close to a lifetime highs where the Indian stock markets have given a good return after spending 4 years in consolidation. When we talk about 4 years of consolidation, उसका मतलब ये होता है कि 4 साल तक तो बाजार अपनी जगह से हिले ही नहीं, खड़े रहे, मंदी का दौर था, आप उसको लेके चलिए, उसके अंदर ही बाजार बैठा रहा, मार्केट्स में मूवमेंट ही नहीं हुआ। 2008 का डेटा मैंने इसलिए लिखा है क्योंकि ये एक ऐसा टाइम था जहां पे अच्छे व्यापारी मार्केट में आए और बहुत तेजी से बाहर निकल गए। मैं इसको 2010 का भी लिख सकता था, बट आई टुक इट डेलिबरेटली 2008 में हमारा इंडेक्स था 2920। मतलब हमारी इकोनॉमी की हालत इतनी बुरी थी। आज हम 2015 में खड़े हैं, लुक एट द लेवल वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, और ये ऑलरेडी उसके पास ही ट्रेड कर रहा है, उसके ऊपर ट्रेड कर चुके हैं हम लोग। नाउ द सिलेक्शन ऑफ द स्टॉक्स, ये मैं चीज इसलिए डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ, फंडिंग आपको सब बता देंगे, आप सबने फंडिंग ली भी है, ईसीबीज, एफसीबीज, आपके पास कंसल्टेंट्स भी आएंगे, आपको सारी तरह की फंडिंग कर देंगे। लेकिन जब आप लाइफ में ग्रो करोगे तो आपके कुछ गोल्स होंगे, कुछ छोटे ऑब्जेक्टिव्स होंगे जो आपने पूरे करने हैं। उसको करने के लिए आपको सेकंड स्टेज में कभी ना कभी तो आज नहीं तो कल, कल नहीं तो परसों तो जंप करना ही है, बिकॉज यू नीड टू अचीव द गोल्स इन अ बिगर वे। गुड फंडामेंटल वैल्यूज, कैन आई हैव द स्लाइड ऑफ द पीपीटी प्लीज? ग्रोथ ओरिएंटेड सेक्टर्स, क्या पे ग्रोथ होनी चाहिए, impacted by the government policies, very important। जैसे भी सर ने कहा NIX is the company, right? आपका पब्लिक इश्यू तो नहीं होगा अभी सर, ट्रस्ट में जिस दिन लिस्ट हुआ उस दिन बुक हो जाएगा, because people like us, we know the future of this company, we'll definitely go and jump in. So if they give us a price around 150 rupees, we'll try to get the maximum out of it, because after 10 years we are looking at a price of say 1,500, could be 2,000, which means I'll multiply my income by more than 100 times. Good technical value is very important. Low risk and high rewards is the basic backbone of every business, whether you talk about stocks, you talk about fundings, you talk about any kind of business you're working into. Right, to understand you're working into software industry, you need to have the minimum risk. If you say you have a higher risk and your return is not that much rewarded, definitely you're going to doom down. या तो पेमेंट मर जाएगी या क्लाइंट डिफॉल्ट कर जाएगा, राइट सर? यही अगर आपका रिस्क लोअर साइड पे होगा तो अगर कुछ गड़बड़ होगा अभी तो आपकी बैलेंस शीट्स, आपके बिजनेस साइकिल में इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। सो हैव लो रिस्क एंड हाई रिवॉर्ड इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कैन यू द पीपीटीज प्लीज? या कैन यू गेट मी दैट? इसमें पीपीटीज होंगी। Can we have the slides of the particular slides we gave? Just 3 slides we have. Then my fellow colleague Mr. Jain will take you through the second presentation. No, we have those. Could you please call the coordinator to help us out? We had the presentations. Which were there with the complete graphs and outputs. Like these, from where these came from? Okay, thank you. Could you just elaborate it a little bit? Could you please elaborate it a little bit? I think people can hardly read. Wonderful, थोड़ा इसको ऊपर करिएगा, थोड़ा सा ऊपर, मैं करवा दूंगा आपसे, नीचे थोड़ा सा ऊपर लीजिए। Okay, well, SDFC Limited is a company. That's it. Thank you. Still blur. Can you? I can you guys read it? Is it comfortable? Okay. Now SDFC Limited is one of the companies like HDFC Bank in India. SDFC Limited is into Housing Development and Finance Corporation. Now we recommended this stock to our clients. I'm not advertising myself or something like that, because I don't need to. I'm just providing you basic information how one can multiply, what is the vision, how you can look forward to look into the system to generate and multiply your funds. Now this company provides loans to the SMEs, this company provides loans for housing and everything, and this company grows at a pace of 15% per year. 15% per year. When we talk about 15% per year means there could be some defaulters as well. Like I have given loans, say 100 crores, there is a possibility that 8 crores of the defaulters might have ran away. Bag uthaya, bhag gaye. So actually my amount goes to 92. Still getting an 8% hit on my books. I'm still maintaining a margin of say, I'm going at a pace of 15%. So which means 15 and plus that 8 would have come back, it would have been at a price of 24, 23. So though this is a good fundamental value of the company. Then we have asset quality has remained healthy and stable. When we talk about asset quality, that is a repayment of the loans. If the repayment of the loans with the company is not good, your asset quality is not good. HDFC remains the better place to buy its peers' demand largely organized from small towns. Pardon, no apology, I apologize, mind up? I just apologize for that. Companies like ICICI, this is a better company. We recommended the stock to our clients at a pricing around 980 rupees. We gave initial target of 1150, which took 2 months, and today the price of the stock is 1370 rupees. So which means we have already given a jump of almost 40 to 50% in 6 to 9 months. And our clients are still holding this stock for the upside targets. Next please. Was it more than half an hour? One of our favorites I'm personally invested into. Hexaware. Hexaware is a company which is invested into IT company, is in a small IT sector. We recommended this stock at a price of 130, 139. The first target we have for the stock was around 180. Then we revised the target and we took it to levels of 280. And as per my just fellow friend told me, today the 13th of the March 2015, the current price is 290 rupees. And we recommended this August 2014, 9 months again. So you multiply your money by 60 to 70%, and this is 110%. Okay. Would you like to touch base the MF part if we have 5 minutes, or we can just wind up? Okay. I'll just claim this onto these sides and just transfer this to my fellow friend Mr. Jan. He'll take you forward to the second phase of the investment cycles. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just take you through a very brief on mutual funds investment. Is it okay right now? Oh. It's not coming. Well, what is mutual fund? It is generally a pool of funds which is collected by a registered mutual fund house and invested in different types of products like stocks, bonds, market money instruments. It generally entails a smaller amount of fund to be invested. It doesn't have to be invested like you have to invest a very huge amount. It has to be, it can be in couples of, in thousands, in say starting with 1,000 rupees in any of the funds. This is the basic framework of a mutual fund where investors pool their money with the registered mutual fund. The fund manager invests this amount with securities depending on the type of fund. It generates returns on the pooled investments, and the returns are passed back to the investors in form of capital appreciation, or if they declare dividends, they pass on in form of dividends. Well, there are two methods of investing in mutual funds. One is lump sum, other is a systematic investment plan, where you can invest on a monthly basis depending on the specific dates you have given for getting your account debited. And in lump sum you put a big amount at one go, where minimum being rupees 5,000, and which you can carry on for say whatever period you want to invest for. selection of mutual funds is generally based on your position of fund house, what kind of fund house it is, how much its existence in the mutual fund industry, the tenure of funds, fund manager, returns generated over period vis-a-vis the benchmark returns, and the portfolio of mutual fund schemes. All these parameters are very, very important for analyzing what kind of funds you should go for in equity as well as on the debt side. Well, these are the type of mutual funds which are available in the market. I have broadly classified them into equity or diversified funds, debt funds, balance funds, and these are the tax saving funds. Now, the taxation of mutual funds are similar, the equity mutual funds are similar to that of the shares in the stock market. You have long-term capital gain tax as 0 and short-term taxable at 15%. But in case of debt mutual funds, it is long-term is now 36 months because in the budget presented in July 2014, Mr. Arun Jaitley had increased it to 36 months. So after 36 months, if it is sold, then you get the benefit of indexation for 3 years, which is calculated before computing capital gain tax at 20%. And if it is sold within 12 months, it should be now 36 months, then your entire capital gain should be subject to tax at the slab rate. So these are some of the funds which have beaten their benchmark over a period and have completed more than 10 years now. I have categorized them into equity funds, and there is one balance fund which invests in equity and debt. The 1-year return are the absolute returns, and more than 1-year returns are based on the CAGR basis. In one first year, if you see, Franklin De Prima has given 82%, and the benchmark return, which is CNX 500, gave around 45%. Similarly, for ICICI Value Discovery and Global, it was BSE Mid Cap Index, which gave a return of around 50%, and these funds have always outperformed the benchmark index. Well, this is just the overview of the mutual funds, how it works, and some of the funds which are available in the market. Thank you.
Mr. Jain, can I request Sandeepan to give a talk? Thank you, Sandeepan. And as usually is the case, the tea break takes the so we have a 10-minute tea break. Tea and snacks are served outside. Can I request all of you to quickly grab a snack and come back in 10 minutes? Thank you so much.